now we're ready to get this exported as a final PDF. You are welcome to, of course, leave the reference file in your document if you want to have it in there just in the working file, and we're able to write the PDF around that. That's not a problem, as long as it's not touching the page. Or if you want to select it and delete it, that's okay too. I'm going to leave mine in here just because it's my demo file. And to export the PDF, which will include these crop marks, we'll go to File and Export. And I'm just going to change my file's name, so that I know which one it was. And in the format, so as far as naming, if this is what one that you're submitting, you're going to want to put maybe exercise 1 and your first and last name. And we're going to go right to Adobe PDF print for the format. Now, if you're new to a Mac and you're looking for the how I have everything open in order to show the Finder in the window, you're just going to click this arrow up beside the file title, and that will open everything up. So naming it, choosing a place to save it to, and selecting Adobe PDF print. And when we click save, we're going to see a series of settings. Now these become, depending on the project, these become, they can vary, but for the most part they're pretty common. And I'm just going to go through from tab to tab so that you can see which ones to click and which ones to select and deselect. And in general, we're doing all pages because we do only have one page. We don't have spreads, so we can turn it to pages. Now, if we had spreads, meaning we had more than one page and they were offset, they were set to facing pages, then we would want to export as spreads so that we could review the document in spreads. And the PDF would show it that way, as though we were flipping through it like an actual magazine or book. We're going to select View PDF after exporting. And what that will do, and upon exporting, once the PDF is written, it will automatically open in, it would typically be Acrobat if you have that installed, which I recommend installing along with your Adobe, Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign. And if you don't have Acrobat installed, it may try to do an automatic open of the PDF in either Illustrator or even a browser. And both can be a little misleading. So I would be sure to have Acrobat installed ahead of doing this. So general, all pages, and view PDF after exporting. You want to make sure that optimized for fast view is deselected, embed thumbnails can be deselected, create tagged PDF, that can be selected. By default, some of these things are already selected, so you don't have to worry too much about them. But the view PDF after exporting usually isn't pre-selected. We don't have any bookmarks or hyperlinks we have to worry about, and we'll go to compression. This is fine. What this is referring to is the resolution of any images that we've included. And we're working with a high resolution image. We don't have to change any settings in here. And in fact, as long as you are working with high resolution, usually this will cover us. The other thing I want to show you here, this is a helpful aspect of writing the PDFs. When we bring images into the image frames, we saw scaling and we saw how you could hide some of the image by closing the frame up. What this does here is it gets rid of the image that we're not seeing. It gets rid of that actual data, which can make a file size larger than it needs to be. It's just not necessary to have the data in the file for something that's not visible. So that will crop according to the image frames. It will crop anything that's hidden by the frame. Compress text and line art, that's fine. You can leave that by default. That should be selected. And then we're going to go to marks and bleeds. And for our purposes, we only need to turn on the crop marks just so that we can include the bleed and see that it was done correctly. So we'll include crop marks, and we'll click document bleed settings, because if we didn't select this, the crop marks would come on, but there would be no indication of what they're cropping. We wouldn't see that there was actual bleed. So we want to make sure that the use document bleed settings are selected as well. And if we didn't select that, we could still do the same. We would just have to set the bleed to 0.125, which it is. Either way would work, but we have to choose one and do that. So I always just go to use document bleed settings as long as I know that in that document I set the bleed properly. And then output, this one, depending on how things export, sometimes the color conversion is different from one computer to the next. Since we're viewing these all digitally, we're not actually going to print with them. You can go to your color conversion and you can select convert to destination, the one without preserve numbers. If you don't, you may see a little bit of an oddity with the color conversion from one screen to the next, but it's honestly not a big deal. When we are going to production, or when this is being sent out for formal proofing and so on, that's when you simply have to be aware that converting to destination is probably the best choice until you get into way more advanced color settings and so on that we're not really going to touch on this term. So we'll go to convert destination, and then advanced security and summary you don't have to worry about. You can leave those. I should note that destination, this is kind of a default. You can leave that. You can leave all these. So just the color conversion is one that you can change, and you can try doing no color conversion and it will probably be fine. This is sort of just a fail safe. And we'll say export, and if I did this correctly, it will open up in Adobe Acrobat and we'll have the crop marks. So there's our crop marks. I'm going to do Command 0, and it's indicating the bleed worked and everything seems to have translated over fine. And this is what you would submit.